oftentimes what that is it's very common in commercial leases, but what a tenant will include is called a non-disturbance clause, basically saying that if the property were to be foreclosed on, the lender would not, disrespect the right of the tenant to occupy that unit or that property, so long as they continue to make rental payments and they, honor the terms of the lease, essentially.
Sometimes, from my experience, a lender won't even bother to look at that if a tenant isn't if a tenant is under a certain square footage, but it's a really hard thing to reconcile, because a dentist, for example, maybe they have 2,000 feet, maybe they have 5,000 feet, but they're still, it's not like a major tenant, like, how an office tenant could be in a big office park, for example. And so when they're putting that much money in, it's one of those types of things where, especially in this environment right now, where we don't really know what's happening. I just wanted to ask that because it's, we're kind of in an interesting time where there's a lot of notes coming due and a lot of uncertainty about certain types of property.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's you see it in almost every single lease. I mean, it's common to have those non-disturbance provisions in there. Another very common one as well is like an estoppel provision. And that they kind of go hand in hand a lot of times. But estoppel provisions basically say that, if the property were to change hands, for example, a lot of times like the new buyer would require an estoppel, basically saying, okay, these are all of the terms of the lease. I'm not in default as a tenant, and people rely on those in order to close deals a lot of times. So when you're representing parties, you want to have that in place. You want to have a non-disturbance provision. You want to have, an estoppel provision requiring the tenant to basically sign an estoppel certificate if the landlord were to request that. And a lot of times tenants require landlords to sign that as well if they're looking to assign the lease to another party, because they don't want, someone to come up in the future and say, oh, rent was still due when the landlord had received all of the rent prior to the assignment.